This is not something that's glamorous to talk about, but it is one of the number one questions I get when people ask me what it's really like to live in a van. And so I'm answering it here, and I'm telling you, it's vulnerable. So maybe you're thinking you want to travel around the world in a van, go on an epic adventure, maybe even just take it down to Baja or into Mexico or up into Canada, but do some extended travel in a van. We've all seen the beautiful influencer pictures on Instagram, Facebook, all these reels that show waterfalls, beautiful mountain landscapes, beach camping sites, just unlimited beauty that you can experience when you're living in a van. But not many people show the real side. Yes, all that stuff comes with it. Traveling in a van is unbelievable. But there's some stuff that maybe doesn't always make the video cuts. And I thought that since Curt is out of town on a much needed break, traveling around the Southeast, spending some time with some buddies, that it might be a good time for me to dial down into some of that. Now, this video will be talking about kind of some women type stuff. But I don't want you men to skip this video, because if you're thinking you're ever going to talk your wife into hopping in a van and going down to Mexico or up into Canada for 3 or 4 months, these are questions she's going to have. So let's get into it, guys. If you don't know us, well, I'm Snow. Curt is out of town, but I'm showing him to you in a video clip right now. And we travel full time in a Mercedes Sprinter van around the world to 55 countries for almost 7 years. So if it can happen in a van, there is a very good chance that me and Curt lived through it. Now, I didn't write out a script. I figured this video was going to be based more on my personal knowledge and experiences. So I'm not going to have answers to all of the questions, but I'm going to try and see if I can put your mind at ease about how some of this stuff works. First thing I want to get into is clothes, shoes, makeup. All right, a van is small. You guys know that. Ours is on the larger side. It's 94 square feet. I literally had in the garage portion a storage box for heavy winter clothes. But other than that, I had a drawer that was maybe 3 feet by 2 feet. You know, it was a big drawer. It was under the couch. I had one and Curt had one. And that is where all my clothes had to live. All of them. Now, in my pre-van life, I had a huge walk-in closet, almost 100 pair of shoes, a color for everything, a style for everything, and so much jewelry, so many accessories. None of that's going to go in the van with you. Maybe a watch, maybe one simple necklace, maybe a pair of earrings, but not much more. You just don't have room for it. You don't have room for clutter in a van. And unfortunately, jewelry of any kind is small, easy to lose, and can clutter up a drawer real quick. So that's the first thing that you're going to need to think about. What's going to make the cut? The next thing is shoes. Shoes take up a lot of space. They're bulky, you can't squish them down, and it's something that me and Curt were able to, well, I was able to get down to 3 pair of shoes. I had a quality pair of flip-flops that could also be dressy or sandals. They're called Fit Flops. They're an amazing brand, in case you're curious. I love them, and they lasted a long time. Really high quality flip-flops. I had tennis shoes. Comfortable tennis shoes, 1 pair that could go with everything. And stored outside in our outdoor drawer, I had a pair of hiking boots. That's it, 3 pair of shoes. So you need to figure out how to get that down to 3 or 4, because you just don't have the room for it. The next thing, you don't have a lot of room for where you're going to store your clothes. I've already told you that. But another thing you need to think about is wrinkle-free. You need something that you can roll up real tight, squish it in there. I mean, really jam the clothes down in there, and they're not going to wrinkle. For me, that ended up basically being yoga pants and t-shirts. I had a couple of sweatshirts, and if I needed to dress it up, I had t-shirt material maxi dresses. Something that could roll up and stuff in the back corner of a drawer. There is not going to be an iron in your van. It's just not something you have room for, and it's just not practical. So be prepared to dwindle your clothes down to a very limited amount. You're going to maybe have to let a little bit of the self-esteem issues go out the window, because you're going to wear a limited amount of clothes. And that's for me on a YouTube channel. You guys saw it. I maybe had 5 or 6 t-shirts and 2 pair of black yoga pants. That was my wardrobe. So is that a hard part of it? For me, it was. Took me a few years to adjust. Now that we're living back in Florida in a house, I've picked up a few things here and there. But I don't think I'll ever go back to my pre-van life style. It's just kind of overwhelming, and I'm happy with the simpler me. Kind of in that same genre, let's talk about skincare, makeup, and hair products. If you're going international, now if you're staying in the United States, some of this won't apply because you can just run into any store and get your stuff. But if you have specific brands of anything you use, any high quality skincare products, you are not going to find those in Mexico and beyond. It's just not going to happen. So for me, I dwindled my makeup down to just a foundation, mascara, a lipstick, and blush, and a little powder compact. And that is it. That is it. As for skincare, I had a cleaning type facial soap, like a Neutrogena type facial soap, and that was it. Fortunately for me, I have like an oilier skin, so I don't need to moisturize, but it's something you need to think about. You will not have a lot of space for that stuff, and even if you think you have the room, it'll be very difficult to replace along the road. So makeup, skincare products, hair care, hair products. When I first left the United States, I was doing, and this will kind of tie in later to another topic that I'm going to talk about, but I was doing keratin treatments. I was straightening my hair, and that required that I used a special shampoo and conditioner. And that proved to be very difficult to find. So along the way, we had to drop that out. And what I discovered is the best hair care product that I could find that was available in almost every one of those 55 countries we went to was Pantene. It's a grocery store hair product. It's not a fancy one. If you're one of these hair salon brand type people, that's going to be difficult for you. So you need to find a basic one that you can work with. And I had very good luck with Pantene. I just kept a shampoo and a conditioner, and that was it. No gel, no mousse, no hairspray, none of that stuff. Because while we're talking about hair, I didn't have a hair dryer. That uses a lot of power. And if you're doing off-grid camping and you're running off your batteries and your solar, a hair dryer is just something that, to me, wasn't worth sucking up a lot of power for. Now, if you do want to take one, you're going to need to get a small one that uses low wattage, like a travel hair dryer. But no curling irons, no fancy brushes, none of that stuff. You're going to have to slim that way, way down. And while we're talking about hair care products, let's roll into what was a biggie for me. Like I said, pre-van life, I did keratin treatments. My hair was much longer. I always fought my curls for years and years and years. So the keratin treatments were important to me. And I kept my hair colored. I used to keep it colored and highlighted. I let the highlights go as we were moving into the van and just was going to keep the gray roots covered up. And along the way, I tried for, maybe a year and a half. I tried. I would try to find hair salons. I would go in and let them color it and cut it. I did a few keratin treatments along the road. I think I gave those up after Mexico. And it got to be more and more difficult, so I started buying hair color from the grocery store, which worked fine, except for in our van, that's messy. If you've ever colored your own hair at home when you're rinsing it out in the shower and it can splatter up on the wall or whatever, that's messy. And to clean that out of the van would have been difficult. Probably could have really messed up our filter system in our water and on our recirculating shower. So anytime I wanted to color my hair, I needed to do it outside of the van. There are literally times that I would sit out at the picnic table at a campsite with hair color in and then rinse it out at a water hose at the filling station at the campsite. I am fixing to do something crazy. I bought hair cutting scissors and a comb, and I'm fixing to give myself a haircut. We'll see how it goes. I watched a YouTube video on how to do this. I have no idea if it's gonna work, but from what I read, that since I have curly hair, as long as I don't go too straight, it shouldn't be the end of the world. So, all right. Fixing to cut my own hair. It's kind of terrifying. You pull it out straight, and you don't hold it tight, and you snip the ends like that instead of just cutting like that. And then you do the next section. I don't know. And
so
then the last section, then you comb it. And the last section, you're supposed to do like a slide type thing, but I don't know how to do that, so we're just gonna keep doing this. But you get a little longer as you go down.
So you guys can probably tell from my head that I cut my own hair. I've been doing that for I don't know how long, forever. But this, I think, is the first time I've ever seen Snow cut her own hair.
I don't know how it's going, but
I'm sure you guys will find out.
In Colombia is when I finally gave up on the hair color. And I must tell you, that was a very difficult process for me. Maybe confidence-wise, self-esteem-wise, to let all this gray start to show. And women of my age may understand that, and some of you may not. It may not be a big deal. But while that was going on for me, stripping that part of me away, and embracing my age and my gray and all that was difficult. And you ladies may appreciate this, but sitting there editing and watching these videos on YouTube every week and watching those gray roots grow, and my highlights and my color being there, oh, it was so hard to watch. But it's done. I would say maybe around Peru or something, all the color was gone, all of that was stripped away, and this is now the new Snow. Curly hair, short hair, no hair care products, no curling iron, just whatever it does, it gets to do. And I'm okay with that. A lot of people asked me when we were coming back home to set up a home base if I was going to color my hair again. And it was a very quick and adamant no. And the reason is, well, one, I don't want to go back to that type of lifestyle and have to maintain that. But man, I could never go through growing out gray roots again. It was so hard. So finding places to get your hair cut, finding places to get hair color put in, finding hair products, all of that is difficult on the road. Laundry. Now, it's easy to figure out how to get your laundry done on the road, especially as you learn how it's handled in each different country. You find a laundromat or you find a little grandma in a Mexican village that'll wash your clothes for you, however it works. That's not what this topic is about. This is about you're gonna wear your clothes a little bit more before you wash them than you probably do now. It's likely that a shirt and a pair of pants are gonna get worn 2 or 3, maybe even 4 times, the pants maybe even more, before they actually make it into the dirty clothes. So the reason for that is, although you can find places to do your laundry, that takes time. And it has to be kind of planned out ahead of time. And you have to either find a campsite with a laundry or find a place to park that's close to the grandma's house. Stuff comes with that. In Europe, it's actually a little easier because they actually have like vending machine laundromats at the gas stations. But by then we had gotten used to just wearing stuff a little bit longer. And I don't know, sanitary wise, that may be something you have to adjust to. It was for me. So I wanted to touch on that. You'll wear things until they're truly dirty before you wash them. It's just part of van life. Showers. Now, some vans have showers in them, some don't. Our van has a shower in it. But even if you have a shower in your van, setting it up, getting everything turned on, moving everything, because you'll store stuff in that shower. Even if you say you won't, you will. You have to move things, set stuff up, and that takes time. And you have to both be on the same page that it's time to take a shower. Showers are kind of scheduled. And kind of like laundry, it will slowly start to be where you don't take a shower every day. And then sometimes you may go 2 days, sometimes maybe even 3 days. If that freaks you out, van life might not be for you. A short 2 or 3 week vacation in an RV, maybe different. At a campsite full-time, that's all different. But if you're doing international full-time traveling van life where you want to get off grid, you need to expect that there will be many times that you go 3 days without a shower. There's been times where we started to roll into 4. I would freak out a little bit and we'd have to find somewhere to pull over, make sure there was water in our shower tank and take showers. But that is a part of van life that I just want to be honest about. And if that's something you don't think you can do, then you need to think hard about that. Now, when we first moved into the van, I wanted to shower almost every night. But that changes. Van life will change you, and that's part of it. You won't take as many showers. Now, we preferred to find nice campsites that had showers. It was just easier. We had these little shower bags that had shampoo, conditioner, soap, and a razor, and we'd just walk over to the shower house and take our shower there rather than breaking down our shower system in our van and dealing with all of that. So it was kind of a mixture for us. The emotional side of living in a van. Now, I could do a whole series on what you'll go through, isolating yourself from your friends and your family and leaving your home country. I could just talk about that for hours, but that's not what this video is about. I wanted to take a minute here though, because there are things you will miss. And it may be different for every single person. I'm going to use the example of Christmas for me. I loved to decorate my home for Christmas. I loved to wrap presents and put them under the tree. I loved to have Christmas music on, candles going. I just loved the Christmas vibe. Not for the family and friends aspect of it, although that was fun. I just liked my home to feel like Christmas. And in a van, there's just no room for a tree. You're not going to buy each other big Christmas presents, so there's no fun Christmas wrapping time. You could maybe find a holiday scented candle along the way and kind of get the smells going. But we ended up, and I did that any Christmas that I could, but we ended up having one string of Christmas lights that I'd pull out of the garage and drape across the van. And as it got close to Christmas, I would go into a grocery store and I would spend $5 to $8 on some grocery store Christmas ornaments. And we would hang them from that Christmas light string. I needed that Christmas spirit, but I still missed it. So you need to be aware that if there's things you have in your home that make you feel comfortable and happy, those things aren't likely going to be able to fit in the van and go with you. So think through that part and figure out how you're going to deal with it, because there's a few Christmases that I was actually sad in the van and we would have to figure out things to do. Now, when our first Christmas in Europe was epic, because we spent 2 weeks driving through the French Christmas markets. And I can't think of a better Christmas ever. That was unbelievable. So it's not all going to be sad, but it's something I wanted you guys to think about. Now, the next one, the bathroom. Now, I'm going to tell you that it is a requirement that you have a van with a bathroom in it of some kind. I know some of the younger kids and some overlanders out there don't have a bathroom in their van. And I quite honestly can't understand how you could possibly manage that. So hats off to you if you figured that out. You will never get the advice from me to travel in a van that does not have a bathroom. For us, when we designed and built our van, we wanted a full-size toilet. And we found a way to do that. We bought from a company that makes the toilets for like big fancy ships and stuff. So it was a full-size composting toilet. There are many different kinds of toilets. There's all kinds, but the only one I can speak to is a composting toilet. Every time I tell someone that we have a composting toilet, their first response is, "Oh, that has to smell." And it does not. And I'll get into that here for just a minute, because there's some tips and tricks to having a composting toilet. Now, as a woman, there's something we call the rocking method. The way a composting toilet works is you're basically pooping in a bucket that's underneath the toilet seat, kind of built in back there. In that bucket, you're going to have some kind of a material. They make all kinds. What we found that was easy to find and worked well was sawdust. Sometimes literally from a sawmill in the middle of a forest in Argentina, or the better way to do it was to find a pet store and buy the sawdust that's used for like hamster cages. So you put that in there and you poop in that bucket through a normal toilet seat, and then you stir it. So the poop gets mixed up with the sawdust. And it's dry because you pee in a different hole. So you poop in one hole and you pee in the front hole. So when you pee, it's leaning forward. When you poop, you're leaning backwards. So there's some front and back, and we call it the rock. As long as you don't pee into the poop bucket, you won't have smell for a few weeks. You know, we would always try to change it up maybe like once a week just to be safe. But if you mess up and pee in the back hole where you're supposed to poop, as soon as that sawdust gets wet and it mixes with the poop, you're going to have a smell, and you're going to have to change it out quickly. So this is where I'm going to be very vulnerable and honest. If you've got a stomach ache and you're having to pee and poop at the same time, you're going to not be able to pull that off. But because you're going to be, the rocking just isn't going to work if it's happening at the same time. But the worst thing that happens is you have to change the sawdust sooner. It's not glamorous. It's not. You need to be prepared for privacy to just be thrown out the window. We were lucky and we had doors. At the beginning, we always closed the doors. By the end of our 7 years, it didn't matter if the door was open or closed. So be prepared for any, privacy or, wanting to keep that kind of stuff away from your partner. It's going to be out in the open in a van. So you need to be ready for that. While we're talking about this, toilet paper cannot go in the composting toilet. Neither can any kind of feminine products. So you need to have a trash can within reach. This is not something that's glamorous to talk about, but it is one of the number one questions I get when people ask me what it's really like to live in a van. And so I'm answering it here, and I'm telling you, it's vulnerable, but it is very doable. I preferred to use the bathroom inside of our van. Now, Curt, if we were at a campsite, he would walk over and use the campsite bathroom. It's your preference, but sometimes you're going to be in a place, if you're wild camping in a city and you're on the side of the road, you don't have a bathroom option if it's 3 o'clock in the morning. So that's one of the reasons I say a bathroom is a requirement, and figuring out how to use it, that's another one. So there you go. One of our number one questions answered right here. And pooping in a bucket. It's something you're going to do if you live in a van. All right, are these sacrifices worth it? Only having a few items of clothes, 3 pairs of shoes, limiting your hair care products, pooping in front of your partner, literally. Are these things worth it? They absolutely are. If you think you can get past some of the stuff we just talked about, the not having the privacy and not having your private time and that sort of stuff. So, yeah, we've camped in some of the most beautiful places in the world. We've seen some of the most amazing things, and it was every day of our life. Not every day, that's not true. It was 3 to 5 days a week, every week of our life, that we were living some unbelievable, amazing, epic adventure, or looking out with total peace and quiet, watching waves crash on the most beautiful cliffs you've ever seen in the world. So yes, I am absolutely okay with taking a shower every 3 days, pooping in a bucket, not having fancy skincare or hair gel, or letting my gray roots show out. Yes, it is 100% worth it. So, I know I didn't hit on everything. People have tons of questions. So if you have anything you want to know about living in a van, y'all start dropping them in the comments, because I'll keep a list of those questions, and maybe down the road, me and Curt will sit down together and answer some more of the questions you have. But while Curt wasn't here, I thought it was a good time to kind of just drill down into some of the stuff that maybe the ladies cared about a little more. Curt will be back in a few days, so he'll be here for the next video. Hope you guys are enjoying your coffee or tea or whatever you're having while you're hanging out with me. And if you liked this video, please share it with your friends. There's no better compliment we can get than you sharing this video. Hit the like button. That helps us a ton. Leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. If you have not subscribed, by all means, subscribe to our channel. And if you're new here and I was going to suggest something for you to go watch to see a little bit more about us, I've got two things. One, either back up and start watching our new series that we're working on now. This is a part of that, called Stories from the Road. Or two, go back and watch our Central America playlist. When we rolled into Guatemala and spent several months driving all the way down to Panama before we shipped our van down to South America. That's when you'll see us when we were still kind of newbies, and you'll learn a little bit about this with us, and you'll see some amazing parts of our world. So I'll put a link to that right here. If you go check that out, it'd be awesome. We'll see you guys in a few days. Cheers. Now that's a wrap on this adventure. But if you loved joining us, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to hit that notification bell too. That way you're always the very first to know exactly when our next video drops. And for all the updates between videos, come follow us over on Facebook and Instagram.